All right. Thanks for joining us here today for today's discussion here on It's a Journey. We're going to talk about how Chewy creates truly cross-channel campaigns with direct mail. We're going to talk about the ins and outs of their direct mail campaign processes, including roadblocks and limitations that their team was experiencing. And you, as the attendees, are likely familiar with these roadblocks as well. We're going to cover how Chewy is incorporating direct mail as part of its greater omni-channel strategy, on how they're using segmentation to improve direct mail outreach, enabling advanced personalization in direct mail communication, and enabling a more rapid time to market. We'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So as you think of questions, please toss them in and we will select some to cover live and make sure that any question gets answered after the fact. I do want to introduce our esteemed guest, Aravind from Chewy. He's the head of CRM Tech. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, let's get started. So first of all, I'm Will. I'm the VP of Marketing here at MessageGears, and happy to be joined. Aravind, can you briefly explain your role as head of CRM Tech at Chewy?
Yes, I lead the customer marketing technology team in Chewy, where our responsibility is to enable the tech, data science, data engineering, and data analytics for customer marketing purposes. This includes email marketing, DM marketing, and any push and on owned and operated channel marketing.
Terrific. So let's dive right in. Can you give us an overview of what Chewy used to be doing as it related to direct mail, the campaign processes, and why there was a need for change? Why your team felt it was so limiting?
So there's multiple reasons. Like I'll just give a high-level overview what our past looked like. It was heavily reliant on manual segmentation. It means that marketers will come up with an hypothesis. Mostly the hypothesis is a new customer acquisition. It's not seen as an engagement channel or an extended channel. This was seen as a standalone channel for acquisition. Then it can also be part of a customer channel. And the segmentation itself was heavily manual, with data engineers and engineering involved in it, and trying to get into their backlog was taking a very long time to get any segmentation done. So that the time to market or time to campaign launch is it's months instead of weeks. That was the biggest challenge, and it was an heavy reliance on engineering involved. And we want to move away from engineering involvement into a more of an operational or marketer-enabled self-serve. That's where our focus was for direct mail, as we wanted to transition out from the legacy side.
And as it relates to direct mail, what kind of let's level set with the audience in terms of what we're looking at or what we're talking about what are the types of direct mail campaigns?
So it's mostly like a new customer acquisition, or like, hey, we would like you to try Chewy. This is mostly we getting purchasing audience lists and then targeting them, or like people who have purchased in the past, but it's been like really 2-3 years they have not engaged with us, trying to get them back to engage. That was the mostly high level we were trying to do in the about 12 months before, and then we started to have the transition in the last 12 months to make it more like, it could be a reorder campaign. It could be hey, this is a new product came into an existing customer. Teach them as a direct mail as a channel for engagement campaign, then trying to be like a acquisition or a bring back campaigns.
Got it. So understanding that time to launch was a major challenge, along with just the wrong teams getting their hands on it or being too hands-on. So what has your team done to move Chewy into a new way of working, particularly as it related to the segmentation capabilities we're talking about?
So when we see legacy where there were multiple places of segmentations were happening, one directly at the data warehouse itself. So again, we had a legacy system, Oracle Responses, where there was segmentation happening in responses for emails and push channels, right? There was multiple places of segmentation happening. So there was no way to coordinate campaigns or conversations with our customers. So what we did is we tried to segregate those segmentation into a single point of view and orchestration as a separate separate boxed architecture. So what this helped us is like we were able to go up and clean up our data backend in our data warehouse. That's where MessageGears came in for us to help us with segmentation, for us to layer in MessageGears as a segmentation tool on top of our data warehouse. And we built homegrown integration from MessageGears into our DM providers, where we were able to segment for all channels, for all campaigns, very specifically MessageGears. And then where we were able to activate that segmented or targeted audience in, let's say, for email and owned and operated into our orchestration system, for DMs directly integrated from MessageGears into our DM provider, and for paid and social campaigns, we were integrated directly into our social partners and pushing the audiences. So what it happens is it allowed us to segregate between segmentation and orchestration. Separation allowed us to go streamline this process out.
Got it. So consolidated view of where the segments are taking place.
Yes.
And then being able to leverage
exactly. Exactly.
What are some specific examples of campaigns that this is brought to life with? Like what are like relate the back end processes now to the front end?
So think of it as like before it was just a set of customer ID and then a specific one single message for all customer ID, right? So it was a blast radius was like same message was sent to millions of customers, right? Or millions of prospects. What this has enabled us is now we can create more of a, with a unified data warehouse, where we were able to do is we are not only able to segment, but also attach personalized message and attributes into it. Where simple example is like, hey, somebody purchased a product 20 days ago, we send a DM out saying that, hey, you can purchase this product again with the QR code for that product you order. To that level of personalization is now enabled, so that it just keeps on expanding. Now with the personalization coming in, the limits are boundless, and we can use cases keeps on increasing as we go in. Without going too much into details on that, but this also enables us, like we can think of not DM as in one single channel, but like we would have had an email, no engagement, no SMS engagement. Now DM becomes a third channel for them to target and attract, and now it becomes a true omnichannel experience. It's like we are talking to the customer where they are instead of sporadically spraying the message across the board.
That I love, right? So it's, I think you mentioned earlier how DM was very much like this sort of standalone off to the side, not really connected to anything else. And so what this enables you to do now is make DM a part of the process versus this off to the side redheaded stepchild type thing, right?
Exactly. Like DM has always been a very high touch point and high return also, right? You're reaching to a masses in a much more touch and feel methodology. So we wanted to bring that experience into our regular campaigns also, not just see it as an acquisition, but also nurture and expand campaigns too.
And how is this internally? I can imagine some improvements from efficiency and like how are the different teams around in Chewy affected in a positive way with this shift?
So when we started the vision of customer marketing tech, or one of the vision was is to how to enable marketers to self-serve as much as possible, like give them the power to execute, not wait for an engineer or a data scientist or a BIE to create segments and then reduce our lead time or react time from conception of an idea to execution of an idea. So that was the ultimate idea, philosophy, or the vision behind what we have built over here in last 2 years. So based on that, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to separate segmentation from orchestration, is that segmentation allows me with MessageGears, now marketers are enabled with predefined campaigns. Predefined segment, they can just use it to activate it. It's a self-serve activation. And also we have enabled certain set of attributes which are easy with MessageGears to drag and drop and build an audience and then launch the audience whichever channels they want, right? So now DM has gone from an heavy engineering led to about 50-50 split, where marketers are unable to do self-serve. There is a data analyst or data scientist responsible for making sure new data is being attributes are added to the MessageGears, and the measurement is taken care of. The launches happens with a combination of marketers and data scientists. And this has basically reduced our lead time anywhere from 2 to 3 months planning to, like, we can do it for next month. It's about less than 2 to 3 weeks planning. So that is the flexibility, and that has given us velocity to try out different things, test out new things, test out new creatives, and get read much faster, right? The lead time at the beginning puts the pressure on the learning time to become shorter or like prolong it before you get a learning to react to it. Now with the reduction of process and across the board, it has helped us to learn faster and then react faster and then activate or adapt faster.
That is awesome. So thinking through some of the shifts we're talking about here, I mean, it's faster and more efficient path to market. You've set your marketing teams up to be much more self-sufficient. It it makes direct mail less of a standalone channel and more of an inclusive part of the omni-channel or cross-channel experience.
Yep.
And the end result for the users or potential customers of Chewy in this program is a more cohesive experience. Like the messaging feels right to them. The messaging is consistent throughout all of the communications.
Yep. At the end of the day, the marketing, the way I see it, is a conversation. If it becomes a one-sided message, then you lose the tact with the customers, right? When it becomes a conversation, the conversation doesn't mean that they speak back to us in a voices, but they speak back with the engagement, their reactions to it. That just becomes an organic input for your campaign results to say like, hey, there is a click-through improvement or a PDP visit improvement or a conversion improvement through a messaging, and then you take that as an input now to improve it or make adaptation and changes to it. So this MessageGears helped us with reducing our lead time and the learning time for us to move faster and react faster.
That's terrific. That's an amazing story. So I've got some questions, and I know we've got a couple coming in here. So if you have, as an audience member, some other questions, we'll have some time here to answer them. And again, if we run out of time, we'll make sure we answer them afterwards. Let me start with this one. How do you overcome the perception that direct mail is dated? Like, I think there's so many more, modern digital channels that take the spotlight, and direct mail feels very old school. And I think what you've described here is very much of like integrating direct mail into that model. But how do you get over that perception when you first talk about direct mail?
There's 2-point challenges, right? One is the privacy challenges that is coming into the digital world, where you're not able to proactively track or learn of their behavior, the third-party restrictions with the CCPA and everything coming into it. Digital challenge become more and more challenging. It's what we are calling it as the first-party data enablement. How do we leverage our first-party data itself? And then what are the channels we can go have the conversation in? Direct mail becomes one of the crucial channels for us to have that conversation, where it's more of a one-to-one customer. It's more of mailing them. It goes through the legacy side of it. The second part of it is the most of the perception comes in because direct mail is seen as something. It's a standalone, as I said before. It's like it cannot be personalized. It is very slow. Yes, it is slow because it takes time. It takes weeks to get to their mailboxes. This should be used as a complementary channel or an acquisition channel instead of this being a primary channel, right? But also you can now personalize it. You have opportunity to personalize it, create smaller segments with personalized messages. Now instead of sending it to like 100% of your population, you can have a targeted smart segmentations, right? That helped us to showcase that, okay, there is a value proposition in it. Traditionally, Chewy had a better direct mail returns. So it was not difficult for us to say like, hey, direct mail is a part of our campaign conversation. And the business also was the reason why they were looking for us, like how can we speed up this learning? So it just became a tech and business collaboration to get this one moving forward. So the time, the perfectness of what Chewy wants, and also the tech and the personalization enablement made it much more easier conversation internally.
Let me dig in on that last point for a second, which is the little bit of the problem identification, which is, going back to the first point of like, obviously that direct mail felt very siloed. It also was very engineering intensive, and the speed to market and speed to learning, as you put it, was stretched out. So what's the process in going and finding a way to solve for those challenges? Like, how did you arrive at the solution or find the solution?
Well, I wouldn't put it just for the direct mail. As I said, there was a larger vision of like, how do we enable marketers to go own their execution, to own their successes, than relying on an operations team or engineering team to do everything for them, right? As part of the larger vision, it just became much easier to see the problem, like where are the inefficiencies from, like, okay, marketers are heavily involved in data operations, like engineers are involved on the data, and availability is a challenge within Chewy. And then engineering availability, resource availability is a challenge within Chewy, because like you are trying to operate as a one service teams of servicing multiple different requirements, right? So what it made us to look at is like, how do we solve data as a problem? If you honestly ask me what is a martech is, I would say 80% is a data problem. 80 to 85% is data problem. Rest everything is a fancy problem. Orchestration, everything is about a 15% delivery last mile problem. If you cannot get control of our data, whatever, if we get a tool, fancy tools, be it MessageGears or their competitors, it doesn't make a difference, right? So that was the first focus. The first 8 to 9 months of our journey of this transition was purely focused on how do we make our data easy to access? How do we make our data easy to create gems out of the rough garbage of data that we get? And then how do we enable the gems into a utilizable attribute or aggregates? And then how do we create targetable segments on the aggregate? And how do we activate the segment? The activation is the final part. That's our the direct mail channels or paid social channels or owned and operated email and push channels. So the journey was to fix the first 5 steps.
Yeah.
So MessageGears was very, very crucial for us to fix the last 2 steps, from utilizing the attributes or aggregates into building targetable segment, make it easy to access it, and then activate it in channels where we want, right? The last 2 steps were solved with MessageGears. Rest of the everything is a homegrown system by Chewy engineers of my team. So.
Excellent. Got a couple of questions coming in from audience members. So love how you've set this up for marketers to be self-service. Are they also able to do testing in a way that is self-serve as well?
Yes. Yes and no. From creating segments for you to test out, including creating holdout, everything is enabled with a self-serve or with the support of a data scientist, right? Where the self-serve is not yet fully enabled yet, this is still a journey where we are still building the secondary side of it, is the analytics and the learnings of it, and then making the data and the learnings democratizable for everybody to consume, understand, and then react to it. The second part is still the work is in progress, but the first part is, yes, you can create holdouts, you can create experimentation between A/B testing. The analysis and the readout is still done by the BIEs and the analytics.
That's awesome. How long did it take Chewy to move from one standard message that you talked about, the batch and blast type of approach, to a more personalized segmentation approach? And how long was that full process?
From a Chewy perspective, we were able to move it about in an 8 to 12 months period, over a period of time. The journey started in somewhere in November of 22. October, November of 22, when I joined in May of 22. First 3 months to 4 months was mostly studying and analyzing where the choke points are, where the challenges is. The journey started in somewhere around October, November, and by I would like to say like by August, September of 23, we were in a much more segmentable way. And then we started to migrate out of our legacy system to a newer orchestration system. So it's about 12 months. The timeline depends on how we are seeing our data problem and how much clarity we have to say what we are solving for. Because data problems can be a never-ending solution. You can just keep on journeying. So you should need to clearly have what you're working towards. And if you're able to define, this is what my first step is, this is what my second step is, then it is easier to call it a done at the first step and take the kudos into it and then invest on it to go build on top of it instead of trying to solve holistically. You should have a holistic point of view, but solve in chunks.
Okay, well, one final question as we wrap up here. So what are your future plans? Like what you've made a lot of progress, right? And direct mail is now sort of an integrated thing into the broader the broader omnichannel approach. But what are your next steps on advancing data activation and analysis and all that?
Not going into details, the 3-year plan what we set forward with in late 22, early 23 was to figure out our orchestration platform, figure out our self-serve processes. The second part of the plan was to make it more personalized, more relevant data, more recommendations to come in, and then auto segmentations to happen. That is where the focus is going to be in the next 12 to 18 months period.
Awesome. We look forward to hearing on the progress in another one of these chats. Thank you, Aravind, for some great insights. It's wonderful progress that you have made. It's really inspiring. Thank you to our audience for all the engaging questions, and any that we didn't get to, we'll make sure we follow up offline. But thanks again, and we appreciate it, and hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate the questions. It was quite interesting questions on how the journey is playing out. So I'll be happy to sit back again to talk about the successes in the next 12 months.
Can't wait. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Take care.